Chapter 11. Grandpa. It was almost midday in his dreams. Feliciano could hear somebody calling him. Feliciano! Feliciano! Wake up already, stupid fratello! Just a second after a pillow hit Feli's face. Oh, Romano, why did you do that? Romano was already awake and dressed in his soccer uniform. Coach Gilbert wanted the team to be in perfect conditions for the tournament, so even Saturdays were a training day. Your phone has been ringing for a whole 10 minutes and you did not even blink at the sound. Feli stood up at the moment and picked the call, hoping to listen the voice he had dreamed of last night. Hello? Romano was looking at his brother, so he noticed it must have been an important call, since the usual bright smile on his brother's face turned into a grimace. Feliciano kept talking for a few more minutes. Yes, I understand. Ciao. Romano gave a worried look at his little brother. He wanted to say something, but it was of no use, because he had never been good with words. What the fuck happened? Did somebody die? Feliciano let out a sob, and a couple of tears rolled down his face. What's wrong, bastard? Why are you crying? Feli faced Romano. Grandpa knows. Romano was confused. What does he know? About me and Ludwig. Now it was Romano's expression, the one changing. What the hell about you and that macho potato? Feli had just got himself into more trouble, but now he saw no use in hiding it anymore. Well, we're like together. Romano was getting really mad. Don't tell me that! What do you mean together, idiot? Feliciano answered, yelling too. Like a couple, Romano, what do you think? The younger Italian covered his mouth with his hands, amazed by his own reaction. Romano was at a loss of words. His baby brother had been tricked by an old pervert. What the hell are you thinking, idiot? I can't even... How could you? You're hopeless, Feliciano. Romano had been scolding his brother furiously. Hypocrite! Walking all over the place and looking angrily at him. Feli was still crying. His relationship with Ludwig could turn into ashes if his grandpa didn't approve, and now his brother was being less than helpful. At first he thought he could stand it, as he always did with Roman's burst outs, but he reached his breaking point. I know about you and Mr. Carriedo. Romano stopped in the middle of the room, his mouth shut. He was perplexed. Feli continued, Don't worry, I'm not going to blackmail you, Roma. I would never do such a thing to you. I just thought that since we're in the same situation, well, you could support me. I mean, I really love Ludwig. Romano gasped at his words, but still didn't say a word. Yes, I'm serious, fratello. I would do anything to be with him, and you understand, right? You feel the same way about Antonio. The elder Italian shivered at the mention of that name. As he noticed Feliciano was expecting a response, he looked back at his brother. It's not the same. In his mind, Romano found it impossible for Feliciano to have a relationship with an older man. Feli was the one mad now. How was it not the same? Romano remained silent. He indeed had no arguments. I see you won't accept it, and it's okay. More tears formed in Feli's eyes. But I don't care what you think, or Grandpa, or anybody. Romano was surprised. This was the first time he saw his brother defending something so bravely and confident. Still, I wish you and Antonio the best. Feliciano left the room. Romano stood there, impressed at how his brother had changed for a man. He was just trying to protect him. Why didn't the idiot understand that? But why was he feeling guilty? Something didn't seem right. He took his keys and left the house, still hearing Feliciano crying from his room. When Feli calmed down, he tried to figure out what to do next. Arsenius called him, saying he found a note, and by the name and the signature he recognized the math teacher that had been giving accessories to Feliciano. So even if Arsenius arrived late home, he wanted Feliciano to wait for him to discuss about the situation. Grandpa's never talked to me in the way he did this morning. He sounded so severe and concerned. What am I going to do? He decided, after giving it a lot of thinking, that he should tell Ludwig about the situation. He picked up his phone and searched for the number. Ludwig woke up feeling weak. He rarely got sick, but when he did, he felt like dying. He walked towards the kitchen to grab some water. In his way, he heard an annoying, familiar voice. Mon Dieu, why are you awake? You should be resting. Hell no, not today. This was the worst thing that could have happened in a day like this. Why are you here? Francis was cooking breakfast while Gilbert was having some coffee and reading a newspaper. Well, the sports section. The long-haired man answered. Well, last night your brother and I went out for a few drinks. Without Antonio, of course, since he has a kid. He has totally forgotten about us, but I give him some credit since the boy is so cute. Francis! Anyway, your brother and I got so busy we ended up in your apartment. And he had some hot Rauch. That's literally how it's spelled auch. Gilbert pinched the Frenchman with a knife. How do you pinch someone with a knife? You stab someone with a knife. You don't pinch someone with a knife. Lord doesn't have to know about that, asshole. But Gilbert, mon amour, you were amazing last night. Wait, did they do it? They did it. Damn. Well, not as if you haven't been before. Francis let aside what he was doing to look at Ludwig. You know, this is not the first time we do it, Ludwig. Guess who taught your brother about life? Gilbert was getting really mad and embarrassed at the same time. Damn, Francis, you swore you won't ever. Francis cut him off. The only thing I noticed is that you kind of enjoy violence, Gilbert. Damn, shut your fucking mouth up, idiot. Gilbert was all red now. I was drunk, so were you, so forget about that. Ludwig was now feeling a bit better. He stared at his brother with a grin. Don't you dare say a thing, Ludwig. Francis adopted a dramatic pose while his brothers were arguing. It's not the way I raised you boys, a masochist and a pedophile. I am so disappointed of you. Both Germans felt their pride hurt. They stood up with a killing desire. Of course, Francis didn't notice he was still blabbing until he was tackled. Ah, get off me, idiot! You are ruining my shirt! I ruined your face, you sick pervert! Said Gilbert, who was about to hit the French with a frying pan. The French! The French! Lucky for Francis, he found an easy way to get out of trouble. Mon petit Gilbert, I thought you had an appointment with your kids about an hour ago. Gilbert stopped punching and looked at the clock. Damn, I knew I woke up earlier for a reason. You should be fired. Ludwig, who was holding Francis so that Gilbert could hit him, raised an eyebrow to his brother. What exactly do you call earlier, Bruder? The younger German still couldn't understand how his brother kept a job. Exactly! Early enough to give a good morning kiss, right, Gilbert? Gilbert hit the Frenchman one more time before storming out of the house half-dressed. Ludwig was on top of Francis, on the floor in the kitchen. Ludwig, you know I don't mind being on bottom, but could we change into a more comfortable position, dear? Oh, ho, 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 ho! Ludwig made a disgusted face and stood up in a second. Francis arranged his clothes and continued with the cooking. So, what would you like for breakfast, Lud? Thanks, but I'll pass. Hearing so much about how close you and my brother are left me with no appetite. Oh, come on, Lud. You are a grown-up man now. It's not like when you were 6 and we'd let you out in your room to watch porn. Actually, now that I recall, Gilbert mentioned something about you having a diverse collection. A look of exasperation appeared on Ludwig's face. Really, Francis, it's been enough for a day. Fine then. Francis shrugged. They remained silent for a couple of minutes, but the cook tried to make some casual talk. Well, perhaps not so casual. So, tell me, Ludwig, how is it going with the Italian hottie? Gilbert told me about the necklace thing. I never expected you to be the romantic type. Ludwig spited out some water. How much did he tell you about it? Well, he mentioned that you ran away like a coward instead of giving the present yourself. I did not do such a thing. Francis knew Ludwig all too well, so he made him an unimpressed face. I felt sick, okay? Well, let me tell you something, Lud. You can't run away forever. Nobody wants that kind of relationship. Ludwig turned to Francis. I can't believe it. You are actually being reasonable. The elder sighed in anger. Why didn't people take him seriously? Of course I am, Brad. I have more experience in these topics than you. Now listen to me, musclehead. You must be more confident about yourself and never hide your feelings. That just makes things worse. You know what I mean, right? How you're socially awkward and sometimes emotionless even. Fine, I get the point. Then what? Give me a break, Ludwig. What would you do next time you met a little boyfriend of yours? Ludwig could feel his face burning at the question, so he used the fridge to cover his face. In that moment, Ludwig's phone started to ring. Feliciano attended the door and was surprised to see Ludwig in front of him. The taller man still looked ill. Ludwig, why are you here? You don't look good at all. A real look of concern in the younger boy's face. This made the blonde feel warm inside. You sound really worried on the phone, so I had to come. Come inside, you should be resting. Ludwig was dragged by Feliciano inside the house. As they walked through the place, Ludwig had a chance to admire the good taste in decoration, so it was family influence where the sophisticated style of the young man came from. They walked through a long corridor and stopped at the front of a room. Feliciano opened the door and Ludwig followed him. Here, have a rest, he said as he pointed at his bed. Have a rest, you say? Oh, ho, 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 Lenny face. I don't think this is okay, Feliciano, considering the current situation. There is nobody home right now. It's just the guest bedroom, Ludwig, and you're sick. But if you prefer, we can always move to my room. Ludwig blushed at the boldness of the young boy. Feliciano noticed but misunderstood the situation. Oh no, you have a fever again. Lay down and I'll bring some cold compresses. No, Philly, I'm fine. But the Italian was already on his way. I'll be right back. Ludwig sighed and checked out the room. I think he did mention his grandpa was an architect, since that must be why every room is exquisite detailed. Ludwig sat on the bed, and without notice the comfort made him fell asleep. When Feliciano came back, he found the tired man in a deep sleep. Of course he was tired. I told him not to come. Feliciano took off the elder man's shoes and covered him with a blanket. He had found that watching Ludwig in his sleep was his new favorite activity. He couldn't imagine a better sight or place to be in this moment. He stayed by his side until he as well fell asleep with him. Oh, well, this can't end well. After a couple of hours, Ludwig was the first in waking up. He remembered he was still at Feliciano's house. He noticed the boy sleeping next to him. He was delighted by the moment until he saw the hour in the wall clock, 8:30 p.m. They were already in a delicate predicament, and if this boy's grandpa found him like that, that won't make a really good first impression. He tried to wake up the Italian as softly as he could. Feli, please wake up. Feliciano struggled to open his eyes, but when he saw Ludwig, he sat up in a second. Are you feeling better now, Ludwig? He was worried about him? Yeah, thanks. I really like it when we sleep together, Ludwig. Ludwig couldn't control the heat rushing through his face. Feliciano took the blonde's face in his hands with delicacy. Oh no, you had fever again. This action made the other man melt. If one day this little boy found out how much effect his actions had on the elder man, but Ludwig used all his willpower to recover some sense. He took away Feli's hands. No, Feliciano, I'm quite fine. Just watch what you say. The younger man gave him a confused look. The German tried to change the conversation. I see you are wearing the cross. Oh, I totally forgot to thank you. Gilbert told me how special this was for you. And I still can't believe you even considered giving it to me. Why wouldn't I? I am the one impressed that you considered me. A shade of pink crossed Feliciano's cheeks. So the French idiot wasn't wrong after all. Ludwig would try to share his feelings more often. No matter how hard and embarrassing this task would become, the man before him made it totally worth it. There are, no periods in this. It's just so hard. This is kind of hard to read. Feliciano stopped playing with the chain and looked at the blonde in the eyes. Don't say that. And anyway, I wanted to apologize. The last thing I wanted was to worry you. I just called you because... Feli, it's fine. I came here because I couldn't let you alone with this. We'll talk together to your grandpa. Everything will be fine, so don't you worry about it. Feliciano felt as if a burden had been taken away from him. He wasn't scared anymore. You're right, we'll be fine. During the whole conversation, Arsenius had been standing outside the room. Oh, ho, ho, ho. At first, he wanted to go inside and punch in the face the man sharing the bed with his precious grandson. But after hearing the conversation, to his dismay, the man in question didn't seem to be so bad. In fact, he could sense his caring about Feliciano. Perhaps he had done his judgment pretty soon. It was true he wasn't so happy about his child having a relationship with an older man, but he could give it a chance, right? You're all going to jail! The door of the room opened, making both Ludwig and Feliciano jump. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Arsenius was smiling at the pair. I just arrived, but I heard somebody chatting. Feliciano was trembling. Oh, how long have you been behind the door, Grandpa? Long enough, really. Arsenius turned to glare at Ludwig. So, you're Ludwig, right? Ludwig left the bed and arranged his clothes nervously in a matter of seconds. Yes, sir, Ludwig Beierschmidt. He outstretched his hand to greet the elder man. Arsenius gave a few steps so he was close enough to the blonde. He was as tall as him. He stared at him, making Ludwig feel more uneasy. He raised his hand, causing Feliciano to gasp. But then Arsenius messed up Ludwig's hair and looked at him again. Yep, you're definitely a copycat of the old Beierschmidt. The same stern look, all the same. Arsenius put his arm around the German in a hug. Ludwig could breathe again and tried to continue the conversation. You know my grandfather? Of course I do. I've known him since like forever. But it's been a long time since we last met. I remember you very little and your brother, what was his name? Gilbert. And that boy had the talent to always get himself in trouble. He still does, murmured the blonde. Arsenius laughed at the comment. I see you have a better sense of humor than your old man. He didn't stand my jokes too much. Ludwig thought to himself that it must have been the reason why he never heard his grandpa mention this man. Actually, I think, Germania is his father, not his grandfather. I'm home. The three men in the room heard Romano's voice coming from the front door. Uh-oh, I smell trouble. Would you like to stay for dinner, Ludwig? Arsenius gave Ludwig a smile. I don't want to bother. Not at all. In fact, there are some things I would like to discuss with you. A dark aura came from the elder man. The German was scared for sure, but he wasn't going to turn down the man who dared to make jokes on his grandfather. Ludwig felt a long night coming with his mood-switching man and Feliciano's not-so-kind brother. This has no punctuation, I'm sorry. But when he saw the smile on the younger Italian, he considered he could stand it. They walked towards the dining room, but they had to stop all of a sudden when behind Romano appeared a tall brunette with dark hair. Oh, so we're meeting everyone's boyfriends today. We're all going to jail. Hey, old man, there's somebody I want to introduce to you. Then the man behind Romano offered his hand to Arsenius. Evening, Mr. Vargas. I am Antonio Fernandez Carriedo, because that's his full name. Ludwig could feel the atmosphere growing tense. Arsenius opened his mouth after processing the scene. Nice to meet you, son. He then pressed Antonio's hand strongly, causing a slight pain on the Spanish. On the Spanish. The Spanish! Really, Roma, I think you should go prepare dinner while I have a chat with this gentleman. As Feliciano already felt acceptation from his grandpa, he ignored Ludwig's pleading face for not leaving him alone. Romano was indifferent and headed to the kitchen with his brother. Romano? What now, idiot? Thanks. Romano hugged his brother while the other tried to escape the embrace. Chicky! You don't have to thank me, bastard. I was planning to do this soon anyway. Feliciano smiled at his brother. Well, anyway, thank you. Romano looked away from his little brother, a noticeable blush on his face. Yeah, whatever. Meanwhile, in the living room, the two younger men were sitting on the couch in front of what looked like the most intimidating character they had ever met. Even Antonio's undying smile was totally erased from his face. Arsenius finally spoke to them. I've raised these kids. They are the most valuable thing I have. I knew this day would come, after all. They're Vargas, and they have always been popular, but I always thought they could bring home some delicate, beautiful young ladies, and what I've found is you two. You must comprehend my surprise. While Antonio tried to look calm, Ludwig was going through the most embarrassing moment of his life. Arsenius continued with his speech, looking to Antonio first. You know, Romano may have an horrible mood, but actually he's quite a sensible guy. He's always trying to protect people he loves and fails at trying to hide it. Then Arsenius turned to Ludwig. Feli, on the other hand, is very sweet, but he's kind of untidy and naive. Mr. Vargas made a pause. Now that I know that you are both interested in my grandsons, I tell you that you both have my approval, but I shall give you some recommendations. Arsenius stood up and gave the men in front of him the scariest glare he can manage. Or what I prefer to call the things you must not do if you want your head to remain attached to the rest of your body. The feelings of fear and horror were now filling the two men. Welcome to the family, boys! End of chapter 11.